Hey everybody, welcome to Neil Talks. My name's Neil and it's time to talk Fringe. And we're basically halfway through season 2 already. And I've got to talk about this episode's title because this episode's title, to confirm, is Grey Matters. And the title prompted me to check the dates of this season versus the dates of the first season of another important television show. Because I mentioned it a couple of episodes ago, in episode 7 in fact, when Walter went to Massive Dynamic headquarters and he looked around and he saw the fruit of Bell's work, his old partner Bell. And part of Walter's, Walter sort of had this realization of what might have been if he hadn't gone down this road of mental illness, eventual institutionalization, etc. He might have been involved with something as Massive Dynamic. And I mentioned at the time that this felt like a very familiar situation for anyone who's familiar with Breaking Bad, because we have another brilliant scientist in that show, Walter White, who early on in his career left a partnership that turned into $1 billion company. And the name of that company, if you haven't watched the show, I don't think this is a major spoiler, is Grey Matter. And so there's some parallels going on here. So I had to check which came first. And yes, season 1 of Breaking Bad was 2008, and season 2 of Fringe, where we are now, was 2009. So is Fringe doing a nod to Breaking Bad, or is this just pure coincidence? The fact that we know we have brilliant scientist Walters on both shows to begin with, that's a coincidence in my mind. But the further connections are interesting, very interesting. But we're at the stage of the season where it feels like we're primarily in Weird Thing of the Week territory, which isn't to say that each episode doesn't also drop a few more bits and pieces that contribute to the through line, the greater story that we're pursuing. But we haven't really touched on the other world lately. We haven't concerned ourselves with the shapeshifters and their new leader for a while. So do we continue to leave that stuff on the back burner, or do we start diving back into that as we approach the midway point of the season? Let's find out. This is episode 10 of season 2, and it's called Grey Matters.
Previously on Fringe.
The storm is coming, and when it is over, I fear there will be little left of our world.
The coming storm.
All the cryo capsules are gone.
So they found who they were looking for.
Remember this simple.
Speaking of the shapeshifters, sometimes I wish they didn't do these previously ons, because it sort of tells you what the episode's going to be about.
Think, Mr. Slater, it will come.
Are we doing brain surgery on him?
The flowers in her hair are heather.
What's that?
Let's close him up.
What is that?
Code Gray, Quarter B.
We have 2 minutes, maybe 3.
My sincere apologies.
Mr. Slater?
What did they take out of his brain? It looked pretty solid, but it was an odd shape. Like it was ear-shaped, almost. In profile, at least.
Within an hour after discovering what had been done to Mr. Slater, the change in his behavior is nothing short of remarkable. And just as strange, we can't find evidence that they did anything to him. Mr. Slater's brain is structurally intact. We ran blood tests, tox screens, nothing came back unusual.
They took something out of him. Walter's
Doctor,
on
I'd like
edge.
to see the patient. That's where we're going right now, Walter.
Chrysanthemums in her hair.
Oh,
Her
no.
mother grows them in a box.
It was supposed to be Heather in her hair.
And where does this little girl live?
Across the street.
No, Joseph, she doesn't. She was never there.
Give her back! Bring her back! Bring her back! Bring her back!
I felt unburdened. Like my mind had had a spring cleaning, like I was suddenly free.
Did we have any x-rays of his head beforehand?
Have you had any theories on how this man is suddenly sane?
No, meager too. The remedy for insanity, as you can imagine, I have thought long and hard about it.
I know that face. Can I
Did
use
we?
this?
Should I be recognizing him?
Where do you know him from?
Is he an
From
agent?
Laston Hennings Cryonics.
Oh,
Bailey said they were looking for their leader.
Well, I've been combing
Oh,
through
is that
Laston
the-
Hennings' files. Which was the one that they wanted?
so that's the
I've
leader.
been looking at
He is one of the heads they stole.
Thomas Jerome Newton.
Wow.
Okay.
I have to stop him.
Mr. Slater's referring doctor was a psychiatrist called Simon Paris.
Is Newton going to be able to use the shape-shifting technology?
You mean you think that someone made him crazy on purpose?
It's a theory. The truth is, there is no cure for madness. It's a fantasy. My only supposition is that he wasn't mad to begin with.
14 years ago, Dr. Paris set up an indefinite prescription of medications for Mr. Slater. In the same week, he wrote the same prescription for 2 other patients.
Okay, there are our next 2 brain surgeries.
You're obsessed with numbers.
Just one, actually. 28. 28, 28.
28. Heather.
Then last Tuesday morning, I woke up and it was gone, just like that.
But she obviously didn't get brain surgery.
But do you mind if we take a look at your head?
Did they stitch her up without any... I guess they were walked in on with Slater.
It's here. Fresh scar, but there are no sutures.
What are you saying happened to me?
The doctor who referred you, Dr. Paris.
I only saw him a couple times before he sent me here. He saw me for mild depression postpartum. Told me I needed to rest a few weeks and sent me here. The arrhythmomania just started one day.
So they snuck in, put something in, and now they've taken them out. Ugh.
First specimen's dying. The nutrient bath won't keep it alive for more than
Specimen
5 hours.
dying.
6 if we're lucky.
What are these
Then we better
things?
get moving.
Okay, so we've got all 3 samples. What is it?
Dr. Paris refers him to a mental hospital with the psychiatric equivalent of a cough, which then develops into full-blown schizophrenia. 2 days ago, he miraculously recovers. Apparently, Mr. Gordon thought he was the actor Sidney Greenstreet. That's funny.
What?
Well, he looks a lot more like Peter Lorre. That's a joke.
Classic cinema joke.
These people we're up against? How can I fight what I can't understand?
Olivia, maybe that's just your personality. But this isn't just your fight.
Eyes on the road. Eyes on the road. Yeah, there we go.
When did Mr. Slater have an organ transplant?
I'm sorry?
Sirolimus, it's an anti-rejection drug. It's only given to organ transplant patients. It's absolutely useless for a paranoid schizophrenic.
Unless
he's a genius.
What?
When you remove brain tissue from a living body, you can keep it alive for a short time in a nutrient suspension, but eventually it will die. It's a problem I've tried to solve many times without success.
These are samples of somebody else's brain. They stored in other people's brains.
He stored the brain tissue inside of another brain. It explains the patient's madness. Putting the tissue of one person into the brain of another is...
But as soon as you remove the foreign tissue, then they're fine.
Correct.
Yeah, that all makes sense for the lay science.
Well, that just leaves more questions. Why cut out someone's brain and store it inside other people? And whose brain is it?
That's a good question, of course.
What did we just learn?
No idea.
Peter?
Who's Dr. Paris? Did Walter do this?
According to their records, Dr. Paris visited you on 6 separate occasions.
Is this the source of Walter's madness? Are they
Mind if I take a look at your head?
coming for
Hey?
Seriously?
It's different. It's older, but there's definitely a scar.
Did they take out or did they put in? Did they have bits of Walter's brain? Whoa. Okay, so much for weirdness of the week.
This is not a good idea, Peter. These MRI machines have magnets that rip the metal out of the patients.
Maybe some Valium would help.
Oh, I don't do Valium nearly enough. It's a good idea. 50 milligrams, please. What do you think that man did to me?
I don't know, Walter.
Who is this Dr. Paris? He's just a mystery at this point.
What do you think that's like for him? Wishing that he could turn back the clock to before he went crazy. He's just sane enough to realize how much he's lost.
From what I know of your father, going crazy made him a better person. It certainly made him a better father.
Big price to pay.
I've never seen anything like it. 3 scars all on the same side in the left temporal lobe.
Walter didn't have brain tissue implanted. He had it removed.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
from
that's
the
what they've
hippocampus.
collected.
And as far as I can tell, there would be no medical reason for it. It controls our inhibitions, helps store long-term memory, contributes to our sense of spatial awareness.
Yeah. So he's always disoriented. He has spotty memory. Yeah.
This is the piece they put in Slater.
They put them in the same places. Yeah, fill in the gaps.
I think I must have miscalculated the doses. Violet sedan chair. It's a band. Always helps me come down from a Valium high.
Violet sedan chair.
It's in the lab.
Lay down, Walter.
I might puke in your car.
Why don't you stay here and rest? And let me get it?
Don't leave him alone, Astrid.
It must be Paris. He must have removed pieces of Walter's brain, but why? And why preserve them?
Because Walter knows stuff.
Memory. Bell told you that Newton wants to open a door to the other side, right? Well, we already know that Walter's done that. He just can't remember how. That is why he can't remember.
Heather, 28. Something else.
Implant the memories into a brain that could interpret them.
Walter.
Oh, no. Of course.
I'm on my way.
Yui time. Oh, no.
Hello, Dr. Bishop.
Is he Paris?
He implanted a transponder chip into his neck so that if he ever got lost, I could find him.
Yeah, we had to have that episode so we can track him.
Let's go.
I'm sorry. Do we know each other?
Oh, we will.
You'll remember.
Here. Down here. Go. Move. Walter?
Secret path. Oh, they cut it out. Damn it. Okay.
Are you trying to fix me?
I'm afraid not. Tell me what you think when you see this.
Peter.
Yeah. Pudding.
Peter.
Oh, Peter.
It's not working.
We need to find something more powerful to stimulate his memory.
More powerful than his dead son?
The girl in the red dress, 2828 Sydney Green Street. Dr. Paris's patients, they all had
Sydney
obsessions.
Green Street, yeah.
She lived across the street from me when I lived in Cambridge as a kid. Her name was Sydney. She lived at 2828 Green Street.
So those were Walter's memories.
Exactly.
Okay, okay.
But if they're trying to get him to remember how it was that he built a door to the other side, maybe they're going to take him to the place that he did it.
My old house.
Last time I was here was a different season. The leaves were falling.
It was season 1.
Yes, this place exists in both worlds. You see, but on my side, the trees died long ago. They call it the Blight.
There's a blight
It's terrible.
on the other side.
It is, isn't it?
Okay.
This is my home.
It's working.
Where's my wife? Where's my son?
You once built a door.
What an
A
awesome
door that
Walter
lets you
episode.
walk between worlds. Tell me how you did it.
How are things on your side?
Worse, I'm told. I know what you lost. Now, are you going to pretend that you're willing to lose him again? Now, tell me about the door.
What did they just inject him with? It was a weird looking needle.
Walter, can you hear me? Walter!
Freeze, FBI!
Shoot a tire! Shoot a tire! Oh, or shoot the guy in the head. Mercury blood. Okay, we're just going for headshots, headshots, headshots. Where's the third guy?
Come out of there.
Oh, he's there in the shadows.
My brain tissue, Peter. It's dying. Whatever was in there.
It's gone for good.
Memories I'll never get back. Hello, son.
Oh.
Walter? I injected him with a neurotoxin, and unless he gets the antidote, in 4 minutes, it will kill him.
Please, I need your help.
Listen to me. Do you see a medical kit?
Yeah, there's one here on the table. Why?
There are 3 vials in the kit. Injected in the correct order, they neutralize the toxin. You have about 2 minutes until Dr. Bishop dies. Now hand me your phone. When I hear you go back into the house from Peter's phone, I'll tell you what to do.
Walter!
Start running, Olivia.
You can have me or Walter Bishop. Make your choice. Me?
She's gonna run, of course.
The Bishop.
Throw him the phone and run.
Go to hell.
Tick, tick.
Blue, yellow, red.
Okay.
Okay. 1,
And
2.
Olivia. Now I know how weak you are.
I have a terrible headache.
Yeah, I bet.
And a sudden craving for chicken wings.
Yeah, Walter's back.
The more answers we get, the more questions they lead to.
We didn't get any answers.
Sure we did. We've given our enemy a name and a face. That's something.
Yeah. But he's a shapeshifter.
If you had captured Newton or even killed him, that wouldn't have been the end of this. But there's only one Walter Bishop. And we'll be meeting him before this is over.
Dang right.
He's ready, Dr. Paris.
The system is completely clean. No sedatives.
Is Belle Paris?
Hello, Walter. I wish there was another way. But what you've accomplished is just too dangerous. Your memory, I'll put it in a place that only I can find. I want you to think about that door.
I really enjoyed this episode, guys. This was one of my favorites. And did it have any crazy revelations? No, but it was such a good Walter episode. I think we really got to explore a little bit more about how Walter feels about his mental illness. Like, can you imagine if you were one of those other 3 patients? You know, maybe you're sane enough, like Walter is, to know that things are wrong. And yet there's nothing you can do to change it. And then all of a sudden, overnight, you're cured with no apparent explanation. And it's all because this chunk of Walter's brain has been removed from yours. What an amazing feeling that must be, and how jealous Walter must be of that feeling. And yet he knows there's no real cure for mental illness, and he's not lucky enough to be a carrier of someone else's brain. He's the source brain that's had chunks taken out of it by Belle, because of course. So Belle is Paris. Belle is Dr. Paris. Belle's the one who took the 3 samples from Walter 14 years ago. So that's the interesting thing. That's while Walter is already in St. Clair's. Because Walter was in St. Clair's for over 17 years. And he's been out from, It just makes sense chronologically. So it's curious. Has Bell been to the other side as of 14 years ago? Clearly he... Okay. Let's do some... None of this is clear, so let me stop saying clearly. But let's talk about what we know. In their early days, Walter and Bell did experiments with LSD and such, and they discovered the other world, that they could get glimpses of it with deja vu. There were certain ways to temporarily access it. But Walter, in his grief over losing his son, figured out a way to go there and bring Peter, the other Peter, back. As an aside, how did Peter's mom deal with that? Like, this Peter was dead. Like, this world's Peter was dead and buried. And then suddenly Walter shows up with another Peter. How did he explain that? How much longer did the wife stick around? Anyway, that's just an aside, but that prompts so many questions. Like, the more you think about it, the crazier it is. But yeah, so Walter figured out how to go there, and he brought Peter back. And we don't know the exact timeline, but sometime not too long after that, Walter got admitted to St. Clair's. So now I guess the question, how old was Peter? Have we learned how old Peter was when Walter was admitted? Because we know he was abducted, when he was 8? Or that's when this Peter died. I can't imagine there was too big a gap between death of this Peter and abduction of their Peter. Call it 8 years old. We're going to assume Peter's supposed to be about 30. Walter's been out for a year. He was in St. Clair's for 17 before that, so call it 18 years since he was admitted. He's probably about 12 when Walter's admitted. High of, if Peter's supposed to be 35, then Peter would have been closer to 17, but I don't think it was that. I suspect, early teens, in that ballpark. And then 14 years ago, so about 4 years after Walter's admission, Bell, posing as Paris, comes to St. Clair's and removes 3 chunks of Walter's brain. The memory of how to make this door, by making Walter think about it, how to open this door. Walter thinks about it. It isolates those 3 parts in the hippocampus, this memory, but we take the memory away from Walter, so he doesn't know how to do it anymore. And we store it in these 3 patients. But the interesting question is, did Bell learn how to open the door while doing this procedure, or from those pieces of brain before installing them in others? It wouldn't be surprising if he did, because he's in the other world now. And now this first wave of shapeshifters, led by Newton, is tracking down those pieces of brain tissue, kidnapping Walter. Apparently they got what they needed with this little scanner that kind of looked like a medium format camera that they had on the tripod while Walter was being plugged in. Newton said he got what he needed. And so presumably he knows how to open the door. Now, are the shapeshifters stuck on our side? Do they have a way back and forth, or do they need Walter's knowledge to get home? It sounds like the other world's in a lot of trouble. We've caught glimpses of it with Olivia in her sort of deja vu moments. We've seen the World Trade Center there. Nothing had, our views of the World Trade Center and such wouldn't indicate that anything was wrong with this world, but Olivia's glimpses certainly do. There's, buildings on fire. It feels like a bit of a war zone. Now we hear from Newton that there's no green in a lot of these neighborhoods, like there's some sort of blight. Things have gone wrong on the other side. And maybe that's why, is the other side trying to invade our world and sort of substitute themselves for us because our planet's in marginally better shape? Or what? And do they work for Bell? Are they working on Bell's orders? I mean, they could be, but how many separate interests are there on the other side, I suppose, is the important question. We only know about Bell, and we know about the shapeshifters, but we don't know whether they're aligned or whether they are mortal enemies. We don't know if there's a Walter on the other side. There ought to be, because there was a Peter. And wouldn't he be pissed? And maybe the shapeshifters work for him, or how much the scary question is if Walter never went to St. Clair's, if Walter never was mentally ill, what could he have done if he was, in a lab for the last 18 years instead of in a mental institution? Could he have invented shape-shifting technology? Could he have invented some of these things that we've seen technology-wise from the other side? Yeah, man, it's a very thought-provoking episode, and I'm very interested. I'm intrigued. I asked at the beginning of the episode, is this just going to be another weird thing of the week? Absolutely not. This was central to our main storyline. This was such a great episode for Walter, for John Noble as an actor. Some really interesting, cool moments. We got that glimpse of what Walter must have been like as a younger man before his mental illness, when he was accessing those removed pieces of his brain. This is my home. Where's my wife? Where's my son? Just a different tone, a different energy, a different posture, a different man, but maybe not a better man. That's the really interesting thing. Olivia's of the belief, and there's a lot of merit in this idea, that Walter's better because of his mental illness, which is a huge price to pay for being a good man. But wow, yeah, it's such an interesting universe we're building here on Fringe. I'm really loving these episodes full of lore. Yeah, this is my kind of episode. This is why I'm here, for episodes like this. Wow, cannot wait for next week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for a little bit here today. Thank you for all your comments and feedback. Thank you for doing the fun algorithm things. And until next week, everybody, take care, stay healthy. We'll see you soon. Cheers.